Everybody wants. I get letters from people. They want to be comics. Could you help me, Mr. Greene? Bada boom, bada boom, bada. And the girls with the comedy. You know.
What do you say to them when they?
You know what I say? I wish I could help you. I wish I really could have a class even and talk this. But I don't know whether you can teach comedy. You could teach about timing, but timing is in acting anyway. You know, just being an actor, timing is important. That's why you had the method actors. I was on a show called Combat, and I quit it because I was with Vic Morrow, and it would take 20 minutes for him to answer me. Chief Sarge, the Germans are coming. Germans. Forget about it, Sarge. They're here already, and they went. They just captured 20 of our men, Sarge. Next week it was the same thing. Sarge, our BAR man died. The what? Our BAR man died. And finally I got up one day and I said, that's it. I've had it. I've just been Vic Morrowed out of the show business. It's a strange business. I never, truly, with all the years I've been in show business, actors have always been strange for me. Actors look down on comedians sometimes. I was on a show with Robert Shaw, Carson show. And he looked over at me and he says, oh, another Jew comic. Well, I was a nice man because generally I would have taken a whap. A what? A whack. Is that a whap? Is a whack? A whack. But this pompous, arrogant bastard, and a lot of the times that I worked with the actors, it had that feeling, that same feeling. I'm not saying all, because I had some very great friends that are actors. Mike Connors, Rod Steiger. But I don't know about Vic Morrow.
What about the financial side for, we're talking about advice for young comedians. They make no money in the beginning. It's a very tough road.
Well, you talk about, I had the same beginning. Everybody has this. At the beginning, nobody makes money in anything. I mean, you show me a guy that starts off at $100,000 a week, But it takes time to learn your craft. If it is a craft, I don't know whether it is a craft or it just, personally, people have that, Intrinsically, they have that within themselves. I think I had it. I think that I had it because I had a brother that used to do dialects and everything. And I used to imitate him, and whatever he did, I did. Matter of fact, when I started making money in show business, I think he resented it. It's been 36 years since he talked to me last, so I think somewhere along the line, he was unhappy. Maybe I'll call him. But I don't know what to say to young people. They've got these improvs and the way they work, and they all do the same thing. Hello, how are you? Where are you from? They all start off the same. They all do the same. They all, I'd give credit to somebody if they got up on the stage and said, I know everybody says where you're from. I said, I don't care where you're from, as long because you came here, and that's all I care about, And then they can get up and walk out. But these kids, some of them are sensational. And if you notice, more out of college. And they got, educational-wise, it's wonderful that they are bright. And the comics from the beginning, we think about in vaudeville and all the way back, they were not college graduates or things. Most of these kids are college graduates, which is wonderful, Wonderful for the language. Well, as I said before, Stewart and Colbert are a perfect example. They're political humor, but they do wonderful, wonderful things. Not, what's his name, still works, Saul works, Mort, but it doesn't have that same feeling when these kids are dramatic, these kids do, it's different feeling.
Why did you stop performing? I know you
You're talking about me?
Yeah.
Well, there comes a time when you look at somebody says, you're going to get a driver's license, and I looked at my driver's license and my age, and I don't know how long. It's a funny thing about it. I walked out not long ago on a stage and I said, I'm 86 and I got applause. I said, gee, that's good. After I get off, I'm writing 87, I don't know how people take to seeing somebody older do that anymore. George Burns, when George worked out, George said, "That Shecky, I want to tell you, age don't mean anything. It's in here, funny bone. Know what I mean?" Then he died.
Well, you know, if you have that desire to still make people laugh, right, and you have something you want to say, I mean that's all part of it, right?
No, I have something to say, but I say it in a restaurant. I go into a restaurant singing. I don't leave a restaurant unless people are happy. I walk into a bank and I sing, and I do dialects. I walk into a department store and I do dialects and things, and I get people around, and then they say, "We know that you look familiar." Then I tell them my name, and if they know my name, I really go crazy, you know? And that's my enjoyment. I like that. I've been to a couple of restaurants, they didn't know me, told me to get out. I wasn't singing good. But that's really my kicks right now.
Do you miss performing?
Yeah, I do and I don't. I mean, if I was to do it, I don't know about getting paid for it anymore. Last job I had was in Vegas, was at South Point. And it's owned by a magnificent, wonderful, wonderful man. It's the kind of guy we had in the old days. But he's probably the kind of guy we had in the old days. And he's got a wonderful idea with it. They bring in shows, but sometimes I bring in good people, sometimes I don't understand the kind of people they bring in. But it's a guy that books that just throws in an act, you know what I mean? Okay, do you think they're popular? Throw them in, you know. But we don't have Vegas doesn't have the individual performers except the big stars. Celine Dion. I don't know who could sit through for $300, sit through that voice. And she's wonderful. I mean, but not for 46 songs. Or the little Englishman, what's his name?
Elton John.
Elton John, who I think is magnificent, wrote magnificent things and everything. But I don't see sitting through 3 hours of. There should be a little bit of variety. Bring out a good comic and bring out a good dancer. A good juggler just drops a ball every once in a while, you know. But it's entirely changed, that business. And it's really, for me, it's not the same that feeling I had either. I'm not getting a $100 check anymore either. Nobody says to me here, and my secretary left me because the last check I got for $100, I hadn't seen it. And I don't know where she's at. Linda, if you hear this thing, you don't have to give it all back. See, I'm going to tell you, the idea of being a comic is what I just did and got a little titter from you. That titter for what I just made up means more to me than if I had a joke written. The great thing about off-the-cuff humor, like a Robin Williams, who does a type of act that he's written and everything, but he's capable of going any place, you know. A little frenetic for me, but he's wonderful. And I just don't know. I don't know anymore where it's going. I just know that the television is for the kids that do comedy. That's still for them. But they don't have the nightclubs anymore for kids that do comedy.
Well, they have the comedy clubs.
They have the comedy clubs, and some of the kids are great, you know. But I can't, going into a comedy club and the guy is sitting there with a clock and a watch, and here he is, Sam Whiteson from Dubuque, Iowa. Hi, how are you? I'm Sam. You may think it's kind of strange, a guy from Dubuque, Iowa doing comedy, but you'd be surprised. You know, I have a lot of laughs from my goats and my cows and my chickens. I had a chicken that did like when I laid it, one like that one. 10 minutes, bing, off. Well, it didn't give him time enough to get into the chickens or the goats or anything. Now we have Mildred Zinzi from New York City. Hello, how are you? Listen, I want to tell you about my mother, and I mean this in all sincerity. Because, and I mean this because, a lot of people don't understand it. Between a mother and a daughter is not the same between a son, and forget about it. But now it's off again, and now here comes, and they work from place to place. I guess they make a living at doing that, you know. But I'm glad it wasn't that way for us. I mean, some of us worked strip joints, which I really didn't, but just at one place in Milwaukee.
That was my next question to you. Can you just get into just a little bit, before the stand-up comedy clubs came around, where did the comic ply his trade in the 1950s? You were talking about rooms where there were gambling halls in the back, and you're traveling around the country. What places would a comic ply his trade? And the follow-up to that is, we had talked about this before, the Copacabana, the Latin Quarter, Village Vanguard, these places.
Those were the places, when you talk about the Copacabana, Shapery, these already, that was a higher echelon of clubs. And that, if you worked those places, you were, you got a name, or there was a name, somewhat of a name, Maybe you're working on the bill with Nat King Cole. I went in there one time with Nat King Cole. Great story is that I didn't want to open for people anymore, I had my own club. I had a couple of clubs, and I didn't want to do that anymore. I learned that from Martha Ray, and I learned that from a few other places. So now I'm working with Nat in Chicago, and he says to me, will you come with me to New York? I said, no, please. Shecky, please. I want to know. So I said, okay, I'll go. So now I get to New York, and I'd never really had, I get up, introduced me, opening night, big opening, because they just changed the Copacabana, took down some poles, and it was in September, and it was big opening. I start telling this joke, and it bombed. And rightly so, because it really didn't belong as an opening joke. The owner, when he didn't like something, had a ring, and he would hit it on the table like it would sound like the bells of Notre Dame. And he hit that, and now they turn off the lights on me, and the band starts. I said, what is this? Now, Nat comes down, and he's going to go on. It's in the dark again. It's the same dark that Sinatra had later on. They carry that dark wherever they go. Now, he comes down and sings, there was, no, he's going, let's see, the breeze and I were saying with a sigh that you... No, and I said, do you see what they did to me? And he's pushing me aside. The breeze and I... And the drummer's going... Tss, 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 tss. I said, no, did you hear what I just told you? You're going to let this happen to me? This is opening night. Now I'm really crazy. He goes, the breeze and I were saying with a sigh. Now his manager comes out, he's 300 pounds, he picks me up and he moves me away. And I said, I will never open again for any performer. Even if I work the dirtiest and oldest, whatever the case may be, I'm going to be the star of the show. Until again, that happened with Sinatra. But these kids working today, how did they get started? We got started in little nightclubs. And at that time, every town had 1 or 2, 3 little nightclubs. And it's the same way they had these comedy stores. They had nightclubs. And these kids go to comedy stores, and we went to these little places all over. Places like up in North Dakota and Duluth, Minnesota, and then you became, if you were good, you became a local act with these people. And that's eventually what television took over. So that's what happened to us. What did happen to us? I'm watching one of my dearest friends work right now, Don Rickles. Don Rickles could hardly walk. He's got stenosis. Spinal stenosis. He's got bad feet. I got a little bit of this. But when I used to walk, I was a different. It takes them 10 minutes to get to the microphone, and it breaks my heart. How long do you want to stay in this business? You know, until two guys come out and carry out and put you by the. And the people, I once went in there and they got a standing ovation for 20 minutes. He was still walking out, and the people were screaming and yelling and applauding and everything else. I says, it'll take him another 20 minutes to get to the microphone. Let's keep the applause up and everything, so he'll get there. But it was just unbelievable to watch. I don't think you should do it. I don't think any of us should do that.
Don Rickles sort of ushered in the notion of insult comedy. He was like the
No, he didn't.
He did. Okay.
Oh gosh, no.
No?
No, that was
Television sort of,
no. That
sort of projected that about Don Rickles.
insult comedy came from way back. The guys, the German type of what they call them, comics, and the Dutch comics and everything else. They had that. They had a club in
He ushered it in for the television generation. I guess actually.
no, what's his name? Jackie Leonard did.
Oh, okay.
But Jackie Leonard used to say, hey, I want to tell you, Shaggy's doing me, isn't he? I mean, Rickles doing me. I tell you the truth, he's doing me. I said, Jackie is not doing you. I says, yours is entirely different. He directly says Japanese, a Jew, a this, whatever he says. I says, yours is different, you know. You put your hand over here, you talk about the subject. I'm in there, Shecky, you're doing me. Well, he moved to Las Vegas, and I think it killed him. Don's success, the more success Don was having, you know. But I tried to impress him that Don wasn't doing him. But Don, when I first saw Don, he didn't have an act. It was boom, 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 until finally he put in, instead of start knocking the Polish. I got Polish in my family, so I could say that. And that's what they used to, you know, when they talked about it, they would say, you know, the verstehst was the Polak talking, you know, the old Jews used to say, the verstehst was men der Russian bastard, you know. So I'm apologizing for saying that. This is going to be a whole hour and a half before I finish apologizing. But Don eventually worked to, he got all of the people, got the Japanese in there, the Germans in there, the this in there. And what's funny is that he had a way about him, Rickles, or he's got a way about him, that because of the television and all the things that he did, it's like he's really a sweet guy. The people all say, if you see him out on television, he's the sweetest. You know, he's nothing like that. He called me but it's a weird business we're in. Now we can go back to Lisa Lampanelli.
I just got to ask you one question. I'm just so curious about this. When you broke out and said to whoever would listen, club owners or agents, I'm going to headline, I don't want to open up for singers anymore. You said that, right? I'm going to headline, and I want to headline, I don't want to open up. But that was the standard of the day. Comics opened up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure.
So did you feel that club owners sort of disrespected, or you felt, did they project comedians as second-class citizens? Did you feel that? You know, that
well, no, some places, because some places you had, like I worked a place in Shreveport, Louisiana, and the guy pulled a gun on me one time, you know? And the reason why he pulled a gun on me is that he put in a stripper when I told him I wasn't going to work with a stripper. And he put in a stripper in the show. So I went back and I talked to this Now, don't have that figured out. I said, what are you doing with putting a stripper in? He says, well, just go and do your thing and forget about it. I said, no. We've got to have this out. The girl stripped in front of a little boy. They were having dinner, and she did the bumps and the grinds in front of a little kid, 8 years old. And I went back to him, and I says, either you take her off the thing, I'm leaving. And he pulled a gun out on me. So some owners that own nightclubs had that degree of intelligence. That's what they thought that, you know, it was. They own the club, they can do anything they want. And generally you had some dumb bastard that did own the club. You know, guy that had a cousin by the name of Rocky, and Rocky knew Charlie, and Charlie knew Johnny, and they knew Sam back in Chicago. you know, and that was the intellect of club owners at that time. And you very rarely ran into a guy like Tom Terrace in Milwaukee, who was the sweetest, or somebody in Duluth, two brothers. One brother just looked through the door to see the girls getting dressed. He was a nice guy. Yeah, you had some strange people owning nightclubs. That wasn't the accepted work at that time, you know, to own a nightclub. But I watch these people today, and I just watch comic, and and now you got besides the comic, now the last, what the hell is the thing with the singing and with the Englishman?
The American Idol?
Yeah, the American public have accepted these shows. It's really it's an amateur hour that we had with Major Bowes and stuff like that. They're just different, but the intelligence of the American public for the Kardashians, for the things with the Kardashians. Oh, what's her name? The girl we were talking about, Lisa Lampanelli. She should be a Kardashian. They marry all black guys, you know, and they're in love with that, and she's in love with that. So, not saying anything bad, but I'm just thinking that she belongs on that program. That is the most disgusting bunch of women, and the people love that, and they love Beverly Hills wife, the basketball wives, and this. I mean, now that I realize why I'm out of show business, I don't want any part of that. I don't want to be a part of what they call show business today. That is not show business today. There is none. It's over. Close up all the places. Find that little hole in the wall. Start the fire.
Well, you know, as long as people want to laugh and want to be entertained, there's always going to be somebody in front of a microphone on a stage. It'll be now, it'll be 100 years from now.
And I think that's wonderful. And you want to know something? I'm at the age right now, I won't see too many of those people anymore, you know. I did that show, as again, I'm going to say it, with all the big stars they had on that show, with Liza Minnelli and Jeff Ross, the most disgusting, despicable thing I've ever seen. And you had some great stars that took place in that show. Why? You tell me what. Tell me why, in the mentality of somebody like a Betty White, why would she go in to hear these words and these things about a girl, what she did to a guy, and why? Just tell me why. That's not entertainment, you know. The girl with her foot in the air and the guy that goes da 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 da. That's entertainment. That's entertainment, but none of that. If they ask me to be on that show next week, I'll do it, because I'm not doing anything.
How do you occupy your days these days? What do you do? What do you do during the day?
You know what? I found a wonderful thing. I got a chair over there. I sit in that chair. I had a friend, Ralph Young, was from Sandler and Young. They used to sing. Remember those? That they used to do American and English and French. Anyway, he died, but he died sitting in a chair. And I used to say to him, Ralph, get out of the chair already, will you please? Come on, I'll take you into the pool. I'll take it. We'll go. No, this is fine now. You know. Well, I found that chair. I got his chair, and I don't get out of it. Sometimes I sleep 12 hours in that chair. And my dog gets a lot of sleep too, my Sophie. It's the greatest thing. Can I tell you, they should just have shows of dogs and cats, because I love those shows. Anything with the animals on it. Well, we're back to Lisa Lampanelli again. Listen, she may be the most wonderful girl in the world. Hear what I tell you? I just don't like what she does. I don't like what she talks about, and I don't think that's what a woman should do, you know?
It's a different world now. Man.
Yeah, it is a different world. It really is. Jeff Ross, and I'm going to tell this, even if you play it. Jeff Ross, and I used to bite my nails. And my mother taught me one time, she says, I used to bite my nails, she says, and then my mother had nails that were hard like rocks. So all of a sudden, I started letting my nails grow. Little thing like this. And I see Jeff Ross, and he's got nails bit down to the knuckles. A little dirty and so and so. Now, whenever I see that, because I'm so aware of that, so cognizant of that situation, that I said to him, come on, I'm going to take you to get your nails done. Take him to a special woman that I go to in Beverly Hills. I said, do his nails. She looks at nails and she says, yeah, where are they? All right? And she does his nails. So I said to him, Jeff, come here the next time and she'll do your nails again. And little by little, from doing that, I says, because it's the worst thing I know about performers, and I see it. When I'm sitting close and I see a performer with dirty shoes and bit nails. I used to work on the stage like this, so nobody should see my nails, you know. So I says, I'll pay for another time for you to come and get it done, which she never did. So I see him on television all the time, and I'm really very friendly with him, with Jeff. He was very big with Buddy Hackett, loved him. I see him, and I just want to look into my television to see if his nails are all right. Now, that means nothing to you people, but it meant a lot to me, you know. So, guys, was the comic good? He was funny, but his nails were dirty. You don't want to hear that, you know. How were his shoes? One shoe was clean. He probably didn't get to the other shoe yet. I'm sure James Cagney says,
I want to tell you, I was in my salon today, and I got my nails done. And I want to say,
Okay. Anyway, guys, what else you want?
I think that's it.
I think we covered a lot of ground here, Shecky Greene.
Jesus, I would like to see this when you have it done.
You were unbelievable. I mean, we would love to see you back on stage, Shecky. You still have a lot to say. You still seem to have that energy about you to get on stage and make people laugh.
Well, I've got the energy, and I still can get up and perform, you know.
Consciousness thing going. I mean, you know, you would still be very relevant out there, believe me.
I'll tell you what happened, another thing. I got on the stage at this place, South Point. And I looked out, and there was a guy that's a friend of mine, but he was sitting in a position, and then I just lost it. I had the audience, but I said, no, ladies and gentlemen, I says, this is the worst thing that any human being can do to you. I don't feel like working tonight. So please get your money back. And I said, if there's any other time that you see me or anything, I'll pay for it even. But I'm not going to work tonight. And that wasn't too long ago. And I walked off the stage, and then my wife called me, and she just had a little stroke at that same time. And it was like fishing. And I said, no. She said, I don't want you to work anymore. And no. But I'll get up. As I said before, there's not a restaurant or anything that I'm not in singing and cavorting and doing things, you know.
Nice.
Some people think it's nuts. Some people like it, you know.
We love it.
If they know that you were in show business and you any kind of name, then they like it, you know. You know who that is? That's Shecky Greene. Did you ever see him on television? No. Oh, he was on Shecky. What show were you on? Ed Sullivan. Did you ever see him on Ed Sullivan? No. I never watched Ed Sullivan. Oh, what other show were you on, Shecky? Johnny Carson. Did you ever watch him on Johnny Carson? No. Why is that? You don't watch? I don't have a television. Okay. Boom, boom.
Was Johnny important in your career in terms of advancing your career?
Let me tell you, yes and no. Johnny was a very, very strange human being. He was a Shecky Greene fan, that I know. because I've got tapes that show him laughing his ass off. But I would hate to think that that's the reason why I... No, my major thing, and no matter what it is with the television, my major thing was Las Vegas. Las Vegas was Shecky Greene, Las Vegas, Shecky Greene, Las Vegas. Matter of fact, some of the writers in New York used to write Las Vegas comedian. I mean, a comedian is a comedian. Or they used to write about, a lot of us guys, Borscht Belt comedian. Borscht Belt, Las Vegas comedian. Just say he's a comedian. You make people laugh, you make people laugh. It isn't so. But the writers were very strange with that thing. Carson, yeah, it was nice. Because let's face facts, you're getting to 12 million people. And when I first started doing television, I would get cognizant of the audience, aware of the fact the audience was in an amphitheater effect. So I would look up. And when I would finally see the thing, you see my neck? But I couldn't get used to the idea with the camera that the camera's picking up the 12 million people. So, and the director never come up to me and say, Shecky, just be a little bit more with the camera. When I did a movie or something, then already you got the director telling you those things. But every once in a while, and when I used to host the Carson show, and when I'd host it, I would fall in love with doing the people. This was the people here. People were not there. That was the Drek up there. But
he loved comedians. I mean, Carson generally loved comedians. He loved promoting comedians, right? And broke a lot of famous people.
Well, something. Steve Allen started that. And Steve Allen started putting in the comedian. Everybody gives Johnny Carson credit for that bullshit. Steve Allen started it. Steve Allen had the backbone. Steve Allen had the sense of humor. Steve Allen was the best. Jack Parr came in. Jack Parr kept on putting people on. He discovered a lot of people, Jack Parr. And then Johnny Carson kept that same thing, because his thing was comedy. So he would bring on people. It wasn't that, and a lot of people were made from the Carson show, but more people were made from Steve Allen, and I would say Parr at that time. I did Steve Allen. I skipped Parr. Parr never wanted me. I don't know why. I don't know how. Nobody ever told me. But I wouldn't have been good with Parr anyway. It was not my type of... I don't want a guy sitting there like this and we're doing whether he wrote for Benny or not, Golly, Jack is funny as hell. Well, he wasn't funny to me, Jack. Intellectual humor. But Carson had timing second. Well, Steve was that good too. His timing was wonderful. And yeah, a lot of people became stars off of that show. And I say I didn't make it off of that show. I made it. I had to go back to Las Vegas, and where I was getting $100,000 a week. That's certainly better than doing the Carson show for $350, for an appearance.
But television served your Las Vegas act. The exposure you were getting on Carson was great for the bottom line, wasn't it? Can't you say that the $100,000 a week that you were getting is a result of this exposure and this?
Not really. It's a little bit into that, yes, but not really, and I'll tell you why. Mine was all of Las Vegas. My money came not because I was on the Carson show, it's because I brought in the biggest gamblers that were around. I brought in the New York gamblers, I brought in the Japanese gamblers, the South American gamblers. I brought all those people in. I did. That's what I never realized it until later on when the places were going broke and they called me to come back to why they wanted me. It wasn't that Shecky Greene did the funniest act in the world, that Shecky Greene was this. Shecky Greene brought in Tuckersoff and Tish, he brought in gamblers. And the same with Rickles. Rickles drew that crowd, same crowd. That's why I hated him, I think. They were at his place when they should have been at my place. Same crowd. Anyway, so consequently, it was not Johnny Carson was a dessert a flambe after seeing, you know, but the people wanted to see me, the reputation from Vegas. So that really was the thing. And then the corporations came in, and that individual performer didn't mean that much to them, because they found many different ways of doing it. The Howard Hughes Corporation, who signed me to a big contract, it was no joy working for them, you know. I'd rather work for a guy that had the gun over here. I don't know why, if they kept it here or where they kept it.
What were they doing differently? I mean, they allowed you to ply your trade, to get up on stage, make people laugh, you got a check?
You mean the corporation's different?
Yeah.
There was a warmth with when the guys owned the clubs, for the simple reason they gave food was free, booze was free. That's what they catered to the public. Then later on, everything was charged. This guy with so and so, the rooms that went from $10 a night or $25 became $100 a night, and it was all corporate, and it had to be that way because that's the way the corporations make money. But that was an entirely different situation. It was all very warm, very giving when the hoodlums owned it and those type of things. They had to get out when Hughes came in and bought them for nothing. When Estes Kefauver had them all on the line. They were all running. They didn't know where the hell to go. Here, yeah, buy my place, sell my place. But I mean, I worked for those people, and they were nice. Used people were nice, and they paid money. But I didn't feel any special love, you know, where I did with the other places. Maybe I should have been a crook.
I think maybe I'll be on television now, I'll be a crook.
What can you say?
Thank you. That was
What can
wonderful.
you say? Shecky,
Okay?
there are comics, and then there's Shecky Greene, right on top.
Isn't that nice, Scott?